In today's video, I'm going to take you along as I tie up some loose ends and finish some decorating projects that have been on my to-do list for quite some time. These are some small decorating projects that I started years ago. Yes, you heard that right, years ago. I am a procrastinator, what can I say? But I'm finally tired of looking at them and feeling guilty that I haven't gotten around to finishing them. So today I'm going to finally finish them, get them crossed off my list so that I can start spring with a clear conscience. The first project is in my family room, and it is to finish this gallery wall that I started maybe 5 years ago. And technically it was finished. You can see these spots here and on the other side. I have these oval frames that I thrifted a long time ago, and I did have them hanging up there, but the prints in them just weren't to my taste. So I finally made the time to go on Etsy, and I purchased 2 digital prints. I believe they were $2 each. They were digital prints that I downloaded. I had them printed and I just got them in the mail. So now I am ready to put the new prints into these oval frames and finally have my gallery wall finished. These are the 2 prints that I downloaded from Etsy, and then I had them printed at a website called Mpix. I ordered the 11 by 14 size, and as soon as I opened the package, I realized that I made a mistake because I ordered the glossy finish and I meant to order the matte. But the first one is this really mysterious, moody looking woman sitting wearing a red kimono, and the other print is of this very distinguished looking gentleman. I was panicking a little bit when I saw that these had a glossy finish because I really wanted to go for that aged oil painting look for these 2 pictures, but then I remembered that I can just use Mod Podge to apply a thin coat over that glossy finish, and it would really give it that matte look that I was going for. Before hanging these on the wall, I did brush a thin layer of Mod Podge over both of them just to remove that glossy finish. You can see on this one the Mod Podge is still slightly wet, but it became completely matte once it dried. So I've had several projects in my living room that have been on my to-do list for quite some time. So today I thought that I would tackle 3 of those. So one of them is I want to reupholster this chair. So this chair does have a seat that is currently upholstered in this pretty French-inspired fabric. Originally, when I started decorating this room, it was a very French-inspired room. The colors were very soft. Several of the furniture pieces that I have here are very French looking, but over the years it's evolved and I started adding more color, I started adding more pattern. So I think that this fabric, even though it's very pretty, it doesn't really go with the carpet, it doesn't go with the camel colored sofa. So I bought this fabric from Hobby Lobby last year when it was on sale, and it's this really pretty leopard print. And I think that this is really going to look very nice. Oliver, what are you doing? I think this is going to look very nice on the seat of the chair. It does complement the carpet a little better. The carpet has this kind of taupey brown, and I think it also goes well with the camel sofa. So that's what I'm going to tackle first. If I can get Oliver to get out of this little fabric tent that he's made for himself. The next item on my to-do list is this French desk. So I painted this desk, it's probably been 5 years, and I painted it this really pretty French gray color. I just felt that the shape of the desk was very French. I have no idea if it actually came from France, probably not, but I really felt that it could be reimagined as a little French writing desk. So I used a French gray chalk paint, and then I added this gold detail along the drawers. I always meant to go back and also add some gold around the edge here and also here. I just feel like it really does need a little bit more embellishment. So I'm going to be using this Robin buff. This is Grecian gold, and I'm just going to go along the edge here, the sides as well, and I'm going to do the same thing along here. The last item that I want to get to on my to-do list for this side of the room is these 2 valances that I made years and years ago. I always wanted to add some sort of embellishment to them, so Before Joann Fabrics closed, I bought this pom-pom trim. I had used this for pillow covers in my family room, but I thought that this would be perfect to add as a finishing touch for my valances. So I think that it will look really pretty with this. So I'm going to go ahead and take these down and then take them up to my sewing room and add this trim. As I was pinning the trim to the valance, I realized that I was actually going to have a very hard time sewing this on because the trim was thick, and then I also had to deal with the hem of the valance, which was thick. I was even having a hard time getting the pins to go through. So I thought that this was just going to be an exercise in futility to try to sew this with my sewing machine. And I decided that the best way to proceed was just to abandon the sewing idea and use my glue gun to attach the trim to the valance. So I finished all three projects, and this is how it turned out. I think it turned out really, really nice. The changes are very subtle. I'm really loving this leopard print on the chair. Actually, I love it so much that if I have enough fabric, I'm going to recover the seats of my dining room chairs in that same fabric. I think we'll tie the two rooms together very nicely. I'm also loving the way that the gold rub and buff that I added along the edges, it really finishes off the desk. I think before it just felt unfinished. So I think this completes the look. And I'm also loving the pom-pom trim on those valances. Again, a very simple touch, but I think it's those little details that really make a difference and make the room feel very intentional. So let me go ahead and cross those three items off of my to-do list, and let me move on to the next item. The next project was actually completed before the holidays. I thrifted this gorgeous made in Italy vintage mirror from Goodwill, and it's been leaning on this vintage trunk in my dining room for several years. And one of the reasons, or actually the primary reason, being that it's a very heavy mirror. It's solid wood, and it has one of those old mirrors inside that is also extremely heavy. So I was afraid to hang it because, God forbid, if it fell and it would get destroyed. That was my big fear. So I kind of propped it on top of this vintage trunk on some pieces of styrofoam to protect the wood. But I do use this trunk for seasonal storage. So every time I had to get into it, not only did I have to remove the whole bar decor, I also had to deal with this really heavy mirror. So I finally enlisted my husband's help to get this securely hung on the wall. And I'm absolutely loving the way that it looks hung up. Honestly, it took my husband maybe 10-15 minutes to do it. I wish I had done it years ago. I don't know, I just had made it into such a big thing in my mind, which is something that I tend to do. But now that it's up, I think it's a little thing that, again, makes a big difference. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to see you in future videos.